Adjuncting contingent faculty is a problem that everyone knows about, but no one wants to talk about in higher education today. Now, I've done a series of videos on the adjunct life, getting into it, getting out of it, but I want to give you a quick update on a recent report and some new numbers from this. It's anecdotal, but it's a report that's offered. It's published by the Chronicle of Higher Education, and most people can't get behind the paywall. So I want to go through some of the details just to share with you the new climate or the changing climate of what it means to be an adjunct and what people are not willing to do about it. Yeah, what they're not willing to do about it. So tap the like button and let's get into a report about why so many adjuncts feel like they want to quit. Hi, I'm James Callahan, and this is The Do-Over Show. And I spent 20 plus years in higher education as a professor, adjunct professor, instructor, visiting professor, tenure track for about 5 or 6 years, gave up on that, moved into another field, and maintained a life teaching as an adjunct, part-time, on my own schedule, when it allowed, for extra money, to keep myself involved. And that's part of using my Ph.D. because that's part of my professional identity, my personal identity as well. So I want to learn to use it. Keeps me researching, keeps me involved. In fact, that means there's no such thing as an ex-academic. Sort of like being in AA or NA. You're always in recovery. So maybe I'm just a recovering professor or recovering Ph.D., but I keep myself involved in the higher education field. And a lot of you who are watching my videos about adjuncting in higher education are in the same situation. So let's look at a report that's entitled Adjunct Professors Face a Constant Struggle to Not Give Up. Yep, let's take a look. But it starts with the obvious, and that is that it's public and private institutions, 2- and 4-year institutions, some with grad programs, so colleges and universities. And it surveyed 1,000 people who are in this contingent faculty makeup. Okay, contingent faculty or adjuncting is people who are given a contract for less than one term, no expectation of future promise of employment. That is, there is no promise beyond this semester or this academic year, this term, that they will ever have an opportunity to do this again at the college or university. And out of this group of 1,000 who responded, yeah, they all came up with a number, and they surmised that in higher education today, the number of people who are teaching adjuncts has gone from the average in the high 50th percentile, that is more than half of the faculty listed in college catalogs in accredited college and universities are considered contingent, adjunct, part-time, temporary, seasonal workers. The real number, this report says, is closer to 68% of those who are regarded as faculty in higher education today. I'll do the math for you. That's 2/3 for you humanities majors. And that means that the great majority of what is actually taught, administered in the classroom, is done by people that have no permanent relationship with the school, college, or university. And yet they want to be there for the most part. They're trying to be there either because they can't give up. I wish I could quit you.
So what we got now is Brokeback Mountain.
Or they're people that just want to get in, and we've taken a new route, and we think that since we can't get full-time teaching jobs, because there are 10 PhDs graduated every single year for every single one tenure track job advertised in professional publications like the Chronicle of Higher Education. That means that there are a surplus of people who have PhDs or terminal degrees in their field, and that means that it's not our market. We can't get a job. But colleges and universities are willing to pay less and hire more of us to teach 1 or 2 or maybe 3 classes a term, a semester. And we go along with it. We say, yes, I want to do it. I know some of you don't like it. They say, just quit, get a union. We've tried it. None of that works. It's not our market. And the administrators and the board of trustees, they're the ones who have created a business model that requires the school, 95% of schools require on tuition to keep themselves open, 5% just live off their endowment. But most people, they need that constant churn, which means they need warm bodies in the classroom, and it helps their accreditation if you have a terminal degree. You know who you are, PhD. And therefore, they put you on their college catalog. The accrediting association looks at them and gives them another stamp of approval. And you get paid to be an adjunct with no promise of employment next semester. No matter how good you are at teaching, they're not going to open up a full-time faculty line just because your Rate My Professor ratings are at 5.0. So in the report, here are the details. 80% of contingent faculty who answered the survey said that their average employment contract lasts for an academic term or less. 81% who reported that working part-time, nearly 2/3 said they prefer to work full-time. Of course they want to work full-time. Though their employment is fragile, the report goes on to say. Fragile? That's a nice way of saying, okay. Adjunct faculty members are heavily involved in campus. 68% said they participate in faculty meetings, even when they're not required to. They just want to be, at the cool faculty meetings. You ever gone to a faculty meeting? You go because you want to be an insider and you want to show, hey, I can play along with the big boys in this area and I can be someone who's just like you. And we think we're winning favor with them because we're going to get that call saying, hey, can you be one of us? Can you join our special club of tenure track people? 65% said they've helped students in a crisis. 81% said they write letters of recommendation for students. You don't get paid to write letters of recommendation when you're an adjunct. You don't get paid to do anything besides teaching a class for the most part, showing up, administering exams, and submitting grades on time. Everything else is on you. Yep, but they don't think their contributions are valid. No, Sherlock, you don't think your contributions are valued? Really? What a surprise. I thought you were smarter than this. Just 16% say they're treated as equal members by the faculty of their college or the administrators. 1/3 feel they're treated equally by colleagues. Yay! Adjunct salaries or adjunct pay compensation, because it's not really a salary. You're not an exempt employee. They're subject to debate, of course. They still don't pay the bills, of course. 27% said that they estimated their annual income was less than $26,500. That's poverty level. 1/4 said that their household struggles to cover basic expenses during summer or winter breaks. Again, you're paid when you work, you're not paid when you're not under contract. You are a consultant, a contract worker. Get that into your brain and you'll have a different type of response to what's really going on in the adjunct world. 68% said that they delay dental care and health care because of the deductibles, and less than half said that they were insured through their employer. Some employers are offering this. Why? Because it increases the pool of people who contribute. Most higher educational institutions require that you contribute. You do get a discount. It is greater when you have a couple hundred people in this pool rather than just you on the individual market. I get it. 2/3 of respondents said they've thought about leaving higher education in the past 2 years. So 66% plus of those teaching adjuncting in this 1,000 respondents to this Federation of Teachers response said, yeah, I've contemplated teaching, but they haven't quit yet. Why? One respondent said, this is my dream job, but it's become too hard and unstable. Another one said, I don't know when I will have to leave, but I wonder if it will give me more peace of mind to work somewhere that doesn't have the looming threat of unemployment. Yes, job security does not exist for the great majority of contingent or adjunct faculty. The background to this and the bigger story, and I've done a video on the trends in higher education, and you can check out that video here, are that faculty hiring has decreased. Class size has not necessarily increased because the number of students has also decreased and is going to reach what they call an enrollment cliff in a few years. I've got a video on that too. But the idea is that while that has slowed, administrator hiring has grown exponentially. And by the way, administrators tend to make 2x what a tenured professor makes at most colleges. Universities, there's a little more equity between administrators and tenured faculty. But for the most part, that means that the hiring of administrators is where special care of students and attention to that has gone. So that colleges and universities have become more of caretaker institutions with professionals dealing with student issues outside of the classroom. Culture, climate, equity, inclusion. Those are the things that are getting more attention. And the college or university gets a reputation hit when they have a bad article show up in a local newspaper or they wind up in the Chronicle of Higher Education. And they want to avoid that. So they put people in place, administrators, in order that they can say, that's their CYA, they can say that we have someone who is a point person on this, who addresses this. And by the way, if they screw it up, or if the college or university screws it up, they just fire that administrator and they cycle to another administrator. When a faculty member does it who's protected by tenure, they can't just easily dismiss them. That's why they're instituting post-tenure review to try to get some of the old fogies out of there who are just causing problems. And yes, for all of those on the adjunct contingent side of thing, we're looking in from the outside, wondering why there isn't more turnover. Why would anybody want to leave a position of job security in exchange for what we've agreed to as adjuncts, and that is to live with the worst kind of insecurity that you can possibly have, and that is, I don't know where my next paycheck's going to come from. Now, after all of this, with the report, what's the outcome? What's the action point? What's the call to action that they ask for? Nothing. They just want to make it known. Heck, I do that every time I do a video on adjuncting. The real solutions to adjuncting, what's going to happen are that our expectations need to change. It's not going to happen by the Board of Trustees. It's up to us to change our expectations for what the adjunct life offers. First of all, it's not our market. And until things drastically change, it won't be. For the greater history of higher education, yes, from the founding of European universities way back when, 1,000 years ago, those who teach have been beholden to benefactors, eventually trustees of the college, who put up money and paid our salaries. That only changed when institutions became funded by public land-grant universities, and then when tuition was much more modest and costs of living were much lower. And that's why so many colleges are in rural areas in the middle of nowhere rather than in major metropolitan areas. Now, if you're not yet ready to give up and change your expectations, the best advice if you want to be an adjunct and you want to do this and try to work yourself into the unrealistic rare air of getting a tenure track invitation is to set a time limit on it. That is, give yourself a few years to distinguish yourself and do it. Bust your butt. Distinguish yourself. Give it your best shot. And if it doesn't materialize, at least you say, I took my best shot and the market didn't have room for me now. Nothing wrong, nothing to be ashamed in that, and you will benefit by doing that. The other move you can make is to move to a major metropolitan area. Now, I live in the Chicago area, and there are literally dozens of public and private, smaller, larger colleges and universities that are always, technical schools, community colleges, that are always looking for adjuncts because that's how they do it on the cheap. You will always find I turn down more adjunct opportunities than I can tell you year by year, as long as you get into this mode. Now, I might be a professional adjunct who does this, but I have a real job during the day. I do adjuncting at night and on weekends because I like the money and I like to do it. I told you that. Great. But if you're trying to work your way into this, or if you want to supplement, or if you want to add to your professional credentials by teaching in a college or university, and for some of you in certain fields, being able to teach and actually get into the classroom is a plus for you. You want to add that. Where do you find that? You're not going to find that in a rural part of America. You're going to find that in a major metropolitan city. And that means move. And if you're in a major metropolitan city, get to work on networking within that setting so that people know who you are, that you're available, and that you are a problem solver. They have a class they need taught. They need to do it on the cheap, and you can be the person to do it. That's how you get into this. And then one final encouragement. And this is the reality check. This is why we look through reports like this, and that is that there are fewer and fewer tenure track hires each year. And that means that although you hope and you sat in your Ph.D. program or your terminal degree program and you said, boy, I'd really love to do what that professor is doing, and I really hope to have an opportunity to do it. You're probably going to have a better opportunity to create a master class or to offer yourself for an online class and to charge people for it and to create that class and to sell it to people than you will to get an institution to validate and to do that work for you. The reason why you are paid so little is because the school does the work of attracting or cultivating or marketing to students, and they plug you into that. What if you did that and you created your own marketing to outreach to create a professional degree? Again, you won't have the stamp of approval of an accrediting association or a college or university or a certificate program. But hey, print out your own certificate, get some professional credentials in your field, start to participate in the academic circles and the professional circles of your field with some certifications. And you'll find your way in that you can actually make a living doing the thing that you love to do, just not at your college or university. Hey, and thanks for being part of the Do-Over Show. Please, could you tap the like button because it really helps. And while you're down there, how about you subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. I'm so glad you found me and I found you. Thanks.